I'm Avalon, and this is Bruce. This is Voice Notes from the Chrysalis, my 21 episode podcast, sharing all of the golden nuggets that I have discovered through being deeply transformed over the past 5 years in celebration of the launch of my digital course, Discover Yourself. Yay! So, last episode, we got a little deep, and now we're gonna confront ourselves because oh my goodness. This episode is about victimhood and radical responsibility. And it segues nicely because the story I shared in the last episode really marks the beginning of me figuring out that for a long, long time I had a victim mindset. I had a really emotionally tough childhood upbringing, and like strained relationships with my family. And I felt like life was happening to me always, and very few things happened for me. And that feeling of life is happening to you. I'm so sorry, I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this, but that's a sign of victimhood mentality, the feeling that life is happening to you. It is a feeling, it is a valid feeling. All feelings are valid, but I do think it is a symptom of believing that we are not empowered to change and affect our own lives. So the solution, the shift that I have made over the many, many years is to embody and accept radical responsibility. And that means that that shitty thing that happened to me that I had no control over, I am still responsible for experiencing that. I'm still responsible for responding to that, for accepting that, for moving on or not. I am responsible for my own experience, no matter what. And that is really, 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 really hard, especially in a world that feels like it's falling apart and is like changing and evolving and devolving on a daily basis. Yeah. Those are things that are outside of our control. But in order to live the life that I want to live, I need to take radical responsibility for my own experience, regardless of the things that I can't control. So, victimhood, um, is so, so sneaky and so, so hard to confront. Um, because it really is the idea of like, there's nothing I can do, I'm helpless. And to some extent, if we decide that we're helpless, we are. Again, it's so hard because, again, like someone coming from, again, like a really emotionally toxic living situation, family dynamic, upbringing, like never feeling fully safe in the home that I was in 90% of the time, not being in control of when I could feel safe, which was when I visited my dad as a kid. Shifting from and recognizing that no matter what, is still responsible for my own experience. And in a lot of ways, it wasn't fair for me as a kid to make that realization. Like by the time I was a preteen and a teenager, my dad would literally call or reference the situation that I was in living with my mom and stepdad as a game I needed to play to just survive and get out and then be able to live my own life. Um, and in that game, I was responsible for my own experience, even though I could not control what I was going through. So it's incredibly hard. It is not fair. Yeah, it's not fair, but it's still true. And the only way that we can live a life that is for us we have to empower ourselves. And the only way you empower yourself is realize that you have to take radical responsibility for yourself and your own experience. So, and in a way, as hard as this is, it's also if victimhood is really a choice, empowerment is also really just a choice. It is deciding to claim back our power. It is deciding that we are powerful. Period. End of story. And if you decide that you are powerful and then you believe, and retraining your beliefs is a whole other topic. If you believe that you are powerful, then you are. Like, and I know that me just saying that does not translate to having opportunities, feeling secure, like physically and emotionally and relationally in life, but it will. If you in any given moment decide that you are powerful and you are responsible for your own experience and therefore you are in control of your own experience and how, at least how you respond to what's going on, even if it's outside of your control, that so much is actually within our influence, at least. By making that decision, moving in the direction that we want to move in for ourselves, for our authentic selves, not the lives that we should be living, not the lives that our parents want to live, not the lives that our community and our church and everybody else wants us to live, but the life that is actually for us, that is calling our name, that we can't stop thinking about, or that we are repressing, that we are secretly afraid of, in order to live that life that we are meant for. We have to believe that we are powerful enough and worthy enough to make that life happen. And then we make it happen by believing that we are powerful enough to make it happen. This is really like a mindset shift. And it's worked. I've literally gone from a life that didn't have a future, like growing up in, again, like this very toxic, emotionally unstable and financially unstable living environment, and almost getting married at 17 and not going to college and probably having a ton of babies and hopefully finding myself after that experience. But I don't know. I grew up in like an extremely small rural town. And also, to clarify, no shade to anyone who has that experience of getting partnered and having kids and having a family and all that at a young, early age. There is nothing inherently wrong with that. That is just absolutely not the life that I was meant to live. And really, those choices were being made by me submitting and almost submitting to the dominant culture, to the norm that I was surrounded by at those ages. And then developing career aspirations, largely an influence because of my stepdad. I know I talk about how challenging it was to live with my mom and my stepdad, but my stepdad, after I moved out of my house, like I realized how much of an incredible positive influence he was in my life, even if I had a really hard time with him in the first 7 years of him being in my life. The later seven were really, really, really great. Yeah, developing career aspirations and going for it, and then literally having the experience of achieving all of the career aspirations I thought I should have. Again, adopting the dominant culture of, oh, I'm gonna make up some career goals that I think I want. I want to be a director at a nonprofit and supervise a team, and that will be my overall career goals. Well, I achieved that at 30. And where do I go from here if that was literally like just my career goal? I have so much ahead of me. What do I do now? And so I tried to girl boss harder and director harder and, you know, better myself, and I burnt myself out because I was not in a supportive environment. I was not in an environment that was in harmony with me and who I am and the life I meant to live. And so now that led me to getting my MBA, gave me a taste of entrepreneurship. And now, a year later, not even a year later after finishing my MBA, I did get laid off. And that was the push I needed to become a business owner. I got a taste of entrepreneurship during my MBA and finally got to actualize that with life, making it happen. But I, oh God, like 17-year-old me engaged to a 21-year-old becoming an alcoholic in the military, bless his heart, like could have never dreamed this reality for herself, working from home, doing work that excites me every single day, and being in control of when I work and for the most part what I work on. That is a whole level of freedom. And having a master's degree, yeah. And posting online, having 1,000 followers to date currently, like, yeah, 17-year-old Avalon literally would not recognize me. And all of this was possible because I took radical responsibility for my own experience. And it was possibly one of the toughest lessons I've ever had to learn. But now I know that I can make anything happen. I know that I am powerful. I know that I can literally live any kind of life that I want to live. I can change my mind at any time, and it will take time. It will take effort. It's not just magic. It's not just waving a magic wand. It took years to get here to this point. It took years of unraveling the shoulds. It took years of unraveling other people's expectations. It took years of unraveling obligations. Again, all of that is other people's stuff and uncovering who I actually am and what I actually want and what I believe I'm meant to do and what I actually want to do. And if I had had my digital course, Discover Yourself, your actual, true, authentic self, not the shoulds, not the obligations, not the expectations of other people, not the programming from society, your community, your church, anything, your actual self. If I had had the exercises in that course sooner, I would have gotten here so much faster. So much faster! So much faster because I would have known what was truly important to me uniquely. I would have known where my strengths were and how to and how to leverage them. I would have known where I needed to grow. I would have known where I was unhappy in my life and where I was content and what I wanted to keep in my life as it was. Those are all things you get from my digital course, Discover Yourself. So that releases for the early birds. You can join for free and be an early bird and get access to the course at a discount on December 21st, the winter solstice, or you can access it publicly on December 28th. So I'm very, very excited about all these conversations we're having, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for being here. Yay!